I was going to school one day and I sat in the trotro. A lady was just sitting before I sat.
Yeah.
And then the way she reacted, like if the car was not full, she would have gotten down.
What were her words exactly?
She didn't speak, but her actions were so glaring.
Yeah.
Where you could feel that it's because of you. Because all of a sudden she just quelled up so much that nothing of her should even touch you. So I had to try to adjust myself to the other end, where I make sure I don't get close to her, even if the car is bumping here and there.
You hold yourself?
Yeah, sure.
How long did this last? The trip from Accra to your school with this lady sitting next to you?
To you. Roughly 1.5 hours, I would say. Yes.
90 painful minutes.
In fact, it was so traumatic. I was thinking about it till I got down. And even when I got to school, I had some few friends I had to sit with and discuss it with them. This is what I felt. And they just gave me the encouragement. You don't mind. That person might not know. So I should just let it be.
Okay.
In fact, it troubles me, but as time goes, I try to forget about it.
Okay, let me bring in Kwame Andrews at this point. Kwame,
sir,
you've also had your own experiences, haven't you?
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Tell me the worst one.
The worst one was when I went for an interview in a school looking for a teaching job. And
what school was that?
Can I even remember? Some Montessori school around
here in Accra?
Around East Legon.
East Legon?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got to the school, I wrote the exam, I passed, and they called me for an interview. Then during the interview, they asked me what are my challenges, and I told them that my challenge as a person with albinism is visual issues or issues having to do with the vision. But this guy went ahead and wrote something on the board as far as you're back there.
Yeah.
And asked me to read from where I was sitting. I told him I cannot read from that end. How? I just told you that I have issues with my eyes and I cannot see from that far. But he still went ahead and wrote on the board, and I said, hey, kind of, I was a bit embarrassed, and later he gave me the marker to also go and write on the board. And later they just asked me when they will get back to me, and that is the end till now.
They never got back?
They never got back.
How many years ago was that?
That was about 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
And since then, and beyond this, and this is a bit for you to get a job to fend for yourself.
Yes, it happens mostly when you immediately enter the interview. I mean, you sit in front of the interview panel. They might have created their own impression about you already. So they put aside all qualifications and experiences aside, and then focus more on your personality as a person with albinism.
Okay.
Yeah, that's mostly what we go through on a daily basis.
So here's what it is, and for the accounts both of you have given me, it's clear that much as we talk about our love for people, for persons who are living with albinism in this country, you're not getting the love you need.
Exactly.
You're not. Okay. But let me get to understand you a bit more, understand what you represent and your challenges and why we should be paying more attention to you than ever before. Let me begin with you, Regina.
Rejoice.
Rejoice. Yeah. Sorry, I nearly changed your name. Apologies. Growing up, was it easy to accept that you were living with albinism?
I would say during childhood, I didn't understand the condition better than now.
How do you feel with the condition when you were growing up? What were some of the things you were confused with?
Sometimes I ask myself, why am I different from the others? Because my siblings are not like me. I'm the only one this way. So sometimes I do even ask my guardian that why is it that I didn't get someone like me, like we will be pair, where I know that I have a sibling or something. Yeah, but normally they just say it's God. That is what they say. But with regards to the house, I would say I was fortunate in a way where the family I was born into, they didn't stigmatize me among the family, and they gave me my special treat as I should. And knowing that they are educated, I think they understood the condition better. But out of the home, that is where
the problem
begins. Yes. And where, as I was saying earlier, you are in class, you have to, like, if your seat is not forward, even sometimes it's the front seat, but because of the writings on the board, you need to walk to the board
and look at it.
Look at it for a word. Just take a word, come back to your sitting position, write it, and go back. And there is a whole lot of chaos in class.
That happens with that.
Yes. Sometimes they write notes because you can't see well or clearly. You are handicapped where everybody finished writing and you have not. And it has to be wiped off for the notes to continue. So with this, you have to wait for someone to finish writing. Then you go and take the person's note and start writing. So it delays you. And sometimes you can't even see what the person has written. You ask, please, what is this? And say, can't you see? But the issue is, if I can see, I won't ask you.
Yeah.
So it's so much. And examination, the font size are so small. You have to strain your eyes.
Okay. Rogers, not to cut you, but you've explained the challenge with sight as one of them.
Yes.
What are the other things you feel that are very peculiar to persons who are living with albinism?
Yeah. Apart from that, too, one thing about, I even remember one time, I think I was in class 5 or class 6, when a colleague, I think he had it in mind, wanting to know how the texture of the skin is like.
Okay.
To the extent he had to use a pencil to scrape my skin.
You're serious?
The arm. Yeah. I had a bruise, blood was coming out all over. It was not easy that day. And he did it he said he wants to know how, but if you want to know, you do use pencil, sharpened pencil too, and it was so much. Sometimes you realize the sun scorches you, then you get blisters on your skin. By the time you realize, they are all turning into sore wounds all over your skin and legs and all that. It's so much.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
Andrews, what's your own peculiar challenge you've had over the years? We've had sight and skin, but what else is there?
That's the major challenge about albinism.
Okay.
It's about the sight, the issues having to do with the sun. That is the skin, because of the absence of the melanin
in the body,
which protects you from the ultraviolet rays that is emitted from the sun. Those are the major challenges. Apart from that, the society creates another challenge. That is the discrimination aspect we always talk about.
Okay, let's quickly talk about the myths that come with persons who are living with albinism, and it's something that a lot of people talk about.
Yeah.
Which ones do you know of that when you hear you flip, laugh, and sometimes get angry about?
Maybe you can also share some, because they are common. The most common one is person with albinism don't defecate on Fridays.
Is it true?
But you are a living being.
Yes. Right? Yes, I am.
Yeah, and every living being has to excrete.
Yes.
So at least once you are taking in something,
certainly you will.
Definitely you will, and there is no way you can control whatever happens in your stomach.
What? I mean, where did that myth come from?
I cannot actually tell. I don't even know how it came about.
You can say.
Yes, I don't. Sometimes I think about it, I don't know how
people come up with these things.
Yeah.
That you do not visit nature's call on Fridays. Well, what is so special about Fridays?
I don't know.
You don't know.
You even vanish on Fridays.
Is it true?
Die.
What? Yes. It's good to raise these two things. Let's really talk about it. There are some who say that they've never been to the funeral of an albino before.
What? Does it mean if you've never been to a funeral of a person with albinism, does that conclude that?
Some believe you don't die.
Oh, so that's been a great thing.
It's not true?
It's never true.
Never.
For me, we were 2 in a family, and myself and my junior sister, and she died at the age of 8. That's an instance for you.
Okay.
Yeah, and recently when you, maybe even if you Google albinism right now, there are instances of killing of persons with albinism. So in that case, when they are killed, are they not dying?
Yeah.
So well, somebody conclude that a person with albinism don't die.
One other thing that's come up that I want the two of you to clear up for me. Is it true that many of you are pursued for rituals?
Yes, it's true. There's instances where persons with albinism are killed for ritual purposes. Yes, even in Ghana.
Yeah.
Though it's not in the media, but it's a kind of secret thing that is ongoing. Yes, and even there was a situation where our current director has to be hiding in a car for 9 solid hours.
Hiding in a car?
Yes, he took protection in a car. He went for a colleague teacher's funeral in Akomufie. And before he realized there are issues about he being under attack. He has to take hostage somewhere. He has to be hidden somewhere, and then students have to surround the car for 9 solid hours. With the belief that person with albinism do not have to visit that community, and if they do, they will be sacrificed. Those are some of the things that goes on. And
for 9 hours.
9 hours, and there is another instances where Adam Abdul Wahab was nearly killed at Abazi for ritual purposes.
At Abazi?
Yes, Abazi in the Brangafo region.
Okay.
And it was believed that anytime they sacrifice person with albinism, they will have high yield. They have the crops will do well and all those things that comes with it. So he was nearly attacked, and he was saved by his landlord. They planned to come and attack him, and his landlord actually saved him. He was to be here, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. Yeah.
So on the matter of you being pursued for rituals, there's that belief out there that when any of you is killed for ritual purposes, they either get more money or whatever they do succeeds.
Yes, that's the belief, but I don't know our body is nothing magical. Absence of melanin in one's body does not make it magical. You know, when you look at the current trends, people are trying to take the melanin from their dark skin. What about those ones? Are you going to pursue them for ritual purposes?
You mean those who are bleaching?
Those who are bleaching, exactly. God has given them that gene, and they are trying to take it away. So are you going to pursue them for the same purpose as we pursue us, who come naturally? Or are you going to attack the whites who are also just like us for ritual purposes? I don't always get it when people do things like that.
Okay. Still on the matter of stigma, and I'll ask you, Andrews, because you are the one who will go out there to pursue. Has this affected in any way your chance to get a partner to live with for life?
Whoa. That's a deeper side. Because this one, it needs a whole day to talk about that.
I mean, just give me something brief, summary. Because I'm sure you've had experiences.
Yes, there are experiences, major ones.
Give me one of the major ones.
And that was my recent relationship. We're in a relationship, and then the parents got to know, the sisters got to know, and they started bombarding her with all sort of myths, as they always say. And then in a way, the sisters, because the lady was persisting that she has to go with me, but because the sisters were also very persistent, they end up not talking to me. Anytime I'm around, they wouldn't come and visit her. Anytime there's a lot of issues that goes into it. They would not talk to me. They wouldn't like to see me around them. Even sometimes, if we are to eat, I ate with the lady in a bowl.
Yeah.
They wouldn't like to use that bowl. But maybe I spend a day with the lady and they happen to come around. They wouldn't enter the room because I am with albinism and they have their own issues with it. They wouldn't like their family to be associated with albinism.
I see.
With the view that she may end up giving birth to one, which is virtually untrue. Because when you, as a person with albinism, get married to a person without the albinism, you have only 25% chances. That is, when you give birth to 4 children, the probability is that only one will have the condition.
Yeah.
Yes, but most people don't know about that.
Okay,
but
so
albinism is nothing that it's not contagious.
Kwame,
it's not a disease.
I get it.
Yes.
So Kwame, this happened with your very immediate past relationship. How many times have you tried?
That's 3 times.
3 times?
Yes, and all of them will get back to me on situation. I mean, the stories that they hear from people with getting association with a person with albinism. They always tell me things that their friends are telling them about their association with me as a person with albinism.
In spite of all of this, have you given up?
Not yet. I've not given up yet.
So you're still searching?
Yeah, but for now I've
cooled your interest.
I've cooled my interest now. I want to repackage myself and then come back.
What does that mean?
Stronger. Now, you talk about personal rebranding. Yeah, maybe there are certain things that might have not gone well at those times.
Okay.
So I want to put those things right. Then
you can go back and hunt some more. Okay.
So men are noted for hunting, so
yes.
we always do the hunting.
No problem. Rejoice, have you also suffered the same thing in trying to find a partner?
No.
Not at all?
No.
You have a partner?
Presently. Yeah.
You do?
I say so, yeah.
And there are no challenges at all, stigma of any kind from his family?
Not yet. If
Not
it's
yet.
behind me, I don't know. But
how fresh is it?
Really? Let's take it a year.
A year now. And so far so good.
Yeah.
We can only wish for the best. But as we've talked about how this affects your lives personally, let's look at it this way. Myths are there affecting people's minds and how they think. Oh, sorry, just to ask, Rejoice, for the person you're dating, is he also a person with albinism?
No.
He's not. Okay. And there are no issues at all whatsoever?
Nothing.
Great. So, as I was asking, with the myths that are up and the concerns you have in growing and in living in our society, what are some of the reasons you think people are just in this place of not accepting you guys for who you represent?
Reasons for not accepting.
Why people don't want to accept you for who you are?
Mostly because of the perceptions, the myths that they have concerning albinism.
Okay.
Yeah, they mostly base their reasons on those myths.
Yeah.
That always leads to the rejections.
Okay. Now, both of you belong to an association, so you are a well-recognized body in this country. Have you seen any attempt by any government to make your lives better in addressing your needs as you have them today? Let me begin with you, Rejoice.
I would say our organization, would I say, it's not been in existence for a very long time.
Okay.
It's something new that we are still on the basics level, trying to come up. But proposals have been sent so far, and currently a paper was laid to Parliament about our condition, and then we only hope that they would pick something up from there, address it, so that the health institutions around and the educational sector would also partake in this process, so that life can be beautiful.
Kwame,
So,
what should the state do for you to make your lives better?
all right, what we are looking out for from Ghana or the governments of Ghana as a country is just to put measures in place that will make life of persons with albinism better. Talking about 1, education, 2, health, and then 3, employment. Those are the 3 major areas that we always hammer on when we speak on issues concerning albinism. Now let's take it one after the other. Talking about the education, what we want government to do is to put a policy in place that will make at least publication of first books, if not all, majority of them, with large fonts. The font size at least 14 and above, which person with albinism can easily read. Because the challenge is in education. You know, education lays the foundation of everything. Once you are not able to go through your educational ladder successfully, it will be difficult for you to move on with other social lives. So one major point that we always put out there is government to put in a policy that's publications of textbooks and other reading materials can be printed in large fonts. And also, they should also print exam papers. Both can be from the school level to the BEC, WAEC. They should be printed in large fonts for persons with albinism. And therefore, we always ask WAEC that maybe when they are putting out their registration forms, then they can put albinism on it, so that any person with albinism filling the form can tick that portion. That will give them the indication that these are the number of persons with albinism taking the exam on this particular day at this particular school, and therefore their question papers need to be printed in font size 16 and above, so that they can easily get the time. And also, they should allow at least some extra time for candidates with albinism.
Okay.
So that, because the sites, our site varies. My site can vary from that of Rejoice. And some sites, some of them have very low side that even when you are there looking onto the phone, they have to even bring it very close to the eyes before they'll be able to see. Yes, so the printing of question papers should be printed out in large fonts, so that it will be comfortable for a person with albinism to read. And maybe I would like Rejoice to speak on that of health.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rejoice, let's say on health, yes.
Yeah, with regards to health, what we are saying is that if government can put down policies where getting access to dermatological services will be easier or will be a little stressful.
Stress-free, you mean?
Yes. To people living with albinism. Because with this situation, you have so many challenges with the skin, which we need proper dermatological care. And then with regards to that too, we realize that some of the creams, especially the sun cream that we use, is very expensive. And not everyone is able to afford. If research was done, we would have noted that majority, excuse me to say, are unable to move higher. So their socio-economic lives are not so good. So if they could subsidize, or if possible, give it out to them free, or maybe on national health insurance, something where they can go for it whenever needed, that one will also be helpful. And then with regards to the vision, as we were talking about, you see the photochromic glasses, it's expensive. Getting it is very expensive. So if it can be subsidized for them, I think that one will also help.
In helping them to see properly.
Yes.
Okay. I used to have a quick...
the hospital level, when they go there, if the discrimination, the health staffs can be educated on this situation, because we would, it would be surprising that even though we say we are health workers, not everybody knows much about the condition, even though they are working at the hospital. So if they can be educated on it, I think when they see people with persons with albinism, they can help them out with their situation. And I think it will be good.
Okay. One more thing I just wanted to ask from you, Rejoice, and since you mentioned that you've been studying at Ensign School of Public Health, how do they treat persons who are living with albinism?
Oh, I thank you for asking me this question. I was about to say that by the close of our interview. With Ensign College of Public Health, I would say they've done so well for me. And I thank them so much that my stay and during my education over there has been a great one. Apart from the classroom issues, where my question papers, as my brother was suggesting, my question papers are printed differently. The font size are bigger. And then apart from that, my seat is even close to the board, but we normally have the notes where it's been shared by through the electronic media. So you are able to read even before you go to class at times. And then the font size they use in the projection is also good. And then I'm giving even extra time for my exams. So everybody is gone and I'm still seated trying to write. And I think it's been so wonderful. And apart from that, I'll say that they have helped me boost up confidence, I would say, before I went there, and acquiring some skills I think it's good. Yeah.
That's fine. That's very very refreshing to hear that the school is doing some good work in helping you to learn and be the best you can be. So let me give just before I pick your final words on this, let me bring in Mr. Yao Ofori Deborah. He's the president for the Ghana Federation of Disability Organization. Mr. Ofori Deborah, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
Okay.
We've heard from Kwame and Rejoice on their challenges they face and what they want to see done in society for them. But from where you sit, do you know why for all these years, these things they ask for are not in existence for them to benefit from?
Okay, thank you very much. The first is that, in Ghana, there are so many policies, legislations, and social intervention programs that are meant to improve the living conditions and acceptance of persons with disability. But when it comes to effective implementation, it is fraught with a lot of challenges. And the challenges emanate from the attitudes of implementers. So we have been fighting for people to to change their attitudes to issues of persons with disability. The response has been very slow, and that explains why it looks like things are not improving very much for conditions of disability, including cases of albinism.
So as we speak today, much as you've been able to talk about the failure for implementation, what is being done by way of engagement to change that narrative?
Well, the Federation, in conjunction with its member organizations, have initiated a lot of discussions with government, and results of which are the promulgation of the arts and enactment of even the ratification of the UN Convention on the Rights of Disability. We have talked to the Ministry of Gender and Social Protection, which has direct responsibility for the management of disability. And we also have talked to the institutions that are relevant for the National Council on Persons with Disability. But the issue is that, for example, the National Council on Persons with Disability is a government agency that should even lead the effort to address all these issues. But since it was inaugurated in 2009, the issue has been understaffing and underfunding of that council, which should actually advise government on issues about disability in terms of implementation and everything. So the fact is that the political will has not been so good, and the commitment of a lot of people involved are also suspect. So that is the program that we are facing. We have done a lot of engagement, but the yield has been very low.
All right. Thank you for your time this morning, Mr. Yao Ofori Deborah, for your time.
Thank you very much.
He's the president of the Ghana Federation of Disability Organization, telling us about the challenges in implementation and what ought to be done. Final words to you, Rejoice and Kwame, as we wrap up our conversation this morning.
Okay. I would say that to the general public and everyone listening, that when they see persons with albinism, they should know that they are equally human beings. It's just like the ordinary water we have. You cannot separate one from the other. The same way they cannot separate us from them. And therefore, we are pleading with them to accept people with persons living with albinism, and then to give them the necessary support, because what they can do, they can equally do it. It's not an inability. So that is my word.
Okay. Kwame.
Yeah. What I would say is albinism is not a disease, it's not a contagious condition. It's rather inherited. And therefore, everyone should accept persons living with albinism, and they should not be rejected, because we are just as normal as any other person without the condition. And therefore, we are saying that person with albinism does not have anything magical, and they shouldn't be sacrificed for any ritual purposes or otherwise.
All right, thank you so much for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Kwame Andrews Daklo, the Research and Program Coordinator for the Ghana Association of Persons Living with Albinism, and Rejoice Zuru, proud student of Ensign School of Public Health. And I'm delighted to know that there is a school out here in Ghana that's helping you in achieving your dreams today. Thank you so much for your time.